Hello, everyone. I'm Dean Blevins, and welcome to the Eddie Sutton Show. Coach, good to be with you again. And since we last had the show last week, you got another victory. Beat Baylor on Saturday night.
We played much better, Dean, than we'd been playing, and this ball club is getting better. They've just got so far to come, but from the time we started November 1, they've made a lot of progress. We played California, and I think anyone that saw that game probably said, gosh, I don't know how many games they're going to be able to win, but since we got home, and it is a cozy atmosphere, as you well know, in Gallagher-Iba, we played better. But in the Baylor game, they came in 4-0. Daryl Johnson's done a good job with that ball club. They came in with a lot of confidence, and they jumped out on us early, and our players kept their poise quite well and finally got the lead. And at times, I thought we played very, very well. For 25 minutes, we probably played as well as we could expect to play at this time of the year. And as long as the players continue to have the same work habits, the ball club's going to improve.
Obviously, one area that you'll look to improve upon is turnovers. You're having much more than you want. But we were talking before the program, you have about 6 players that laid out a season, and not starting, they're starting 2 weeks later is hurting the team at this point, I would think.
The more we go, the more I realize that the 2 weeks we lost in October really has set this ball club back. Also, when you really analyze the makeup of the squad, we are very young, very inexperienced, and when you are young and inexperienced, you're going to be very careless. And I think it's very evident in all the breakdowns we have at both ends of the floor, but probably more evident in ball handling. We've been averaging about 20 turnovers. And in the last 2 years, I don't think we turned the ball over 20 times in a game, over 3 or 4 times. And right now we're averaging 20, and at least half of those are what we would call unforced errors. You're always going to make miscues because you got to give the other team credit defensively. They're going to force you into mistakes. But a lot of times our players just turn the ball over just on a careless pass or dribble the ball off their foot or step on an out-of-bounds line. And those are things that are correctable, but it does take time.
Well, we won't show you any turnovers, but we will show you the Baylor highlights when Oklahoma State hosted the Bears. And we will note that your club is second in the nation shooting 57% behind North Carolina. And we'll see a lot of those baskets here, a packed Gallagher-Iba Arena.
One of the reasons that we're shooting so well, and there's a good example, we're getting the ball down in good scoring areas. The closer you get the ball to the basket, the higher the percentage the shot. And in this ball game, we were able to power the ball into Vaughn Bennett and into Bryant Reeves. Now, there's one of the perimeter shots. That was Randy Rutherford hitting a shot from the top of the key. But the 2 big guys hit 17 out of 24 from the field. And there's Bryant Reeves on a nice feed.
20 points, 11 rebounds for Bryant Reeves.
We're going to talk more about Bryant a little later in the show because he had a big honor this week. He was a Big 8 Player of the Week, but then he also got an award that we heard about just yesterday. They're playing man-to-man, and we're running what we call a 1 game, but it's a double post with Bennett and Reeves down low. That's Brooks Thompson, who's adjusting to trying to play the point position. He's more at ease playing the 2 guard.
Had some pretty good numbers the other night, though. Brooks Thompson, 18 points, 7 rebounds, and had 7 assists, and I know you like to see that.
Well, he also, I think, had 6 turnovers, so that I don't like to see that from a point guard. But Brooks is playing pretty well to ask him to go and play the point when he's never really played it before. He played a little bit at Texas A&M. That's the beginning of the second half. We ran a special scoring play where we back screen and throw the high lob, and Thompson's converted. There's Scott Sutton feeding the ball into Vaughn, and Vaughn, that's 2 of his 20 points. He and Bryant led our ball club with 20 points. There's Brooks Thompson hitting a perimeter shot. About half his shots have come from 3-point range. He's one of the 2 or 3 best 3-point shooters we have. And there's a good indication of where Bryant Reeves has improved. He's so much stronger thanks to Leroy Youster and our strength program. A year ago, he couldn't have made that power move.
4th different lineup in 4 games, so still experimenting.
We are going to continue to experiment until we find for sure who the 5 best players are at the beginning of the ball game. There's Fred Burley. Fred continues to improve. He got 12 points. We had 5 people hit in double figures in this ball game. We win 93-75.
Cowboys go to 3-1, and you mentioned Daryl Johnson, the former very successful OCU basketball coach. That's the first time in 59 games that Daryl Johnson walked off not a winner. He was undefeated coming in here at Baylor.
He had won 4 straight games, had won their tournament, and like I said, they're going to win a lot of ball games down there. Daryl does an outstanding job, but we were talking as a staff, that has to be kind of a funny feeling after going 59 games without a loss. So if someone had to beat him, we were glad it was us.
All right, you bet. We'll take a timeout. Stay with us. When we come back, we'll have more of the Eddie Sutton Show. Coach from the Baylor game, the Southwest Airlines Play of the Week.
That's Terry Collins. Just before halftime, we got the ball in bounds, got it to Terry. He dribbles up the floor. He's about 2 strides above the top of the circle, and he lets it fly. And as the horn goes off, it goes through the basket, and that gives us a 7-point lead instead of a 4. Big psychological play in a game as close as the game was with Baylor.
Now, that's not a pickup game. It's not a YMCA game. I have a feeling you had diagrammed that play. Did you set that up?
No, we really hadn't. There are plays, Dean, when you have enough time that you'll set up to take a last second shot before the half or before the end of a contest. But when there's just a few seconds left, we found through the years probably the best thing to do is to get the ball inbounds, get it in the hands of someone who has quickness, who can advance the ball quickly up the floor, try to break the defense down, force a help situation. And if no one does come to help, and no one did in this situation, Terry had beaten his man on a dribble, he jumped up and shot it. Normally, what will happen, some defender will move in his path, and when that happens, then he kicks the ball off, passes the ball off to that person, and you get a shot. You always would like for the shot to go up if you're going for a last shot right at the end of the half or the end of the ball game, to go up with maybe 2 or 3 seconds to go, where you have an opportunity maybe to rebound it and have a putback, and yet the other team doesn't have a chance to advance the ball back down the floor. But a big shot by Terry, and that was the play of the week.
Stay with us, a 30-second break, and we'll be back for Coach's Corner in just a minute.
Dean, this play occurred in our ball game with Tulsa, and I want you to see it. Here's a man driving down the baseline. He kicks. Brooks Thompson closes on that shooter and knocks him to the floor. And there's some concern here on the part of the officials and me, and there's a new rule this year, and we'll talk a little bit more about it. And you can see the official explain it to me. The shooter goes up in the air, he gets fouled, and the ball is clearly out of his hands. And you'll see this right here. The ball's left his hands, now the collision, now the foul. The way it used to be, once the ball had left the shooter's hands, they call that a foul after the shot. If you were in the bonus situation, it would be a 1-and-1. If you weren't in the bonus situation, you would take the ball out of bounds. Well, the new rule interpretation is if you shoot a basketball, whether it's from 3-point range or 2-point range, and the ball has clearly left your hands and yet your feet have not hit the floor yet, and you get fouled, it's ruled a shooting foul. And in this situation, he got 3 free throws because he was beyond the 3-point line. If he had been inside of the line, it would have been a 2-shot foul. So a little bit different. So if you fans see that occurring in a ball game and you think that, well, the shooter's already let the ball go and yet the foul occurs, if his feet haven't hit the court yet, then he's going to get a shooting situation.
Coach, not a lot of rules changes, but one of note, when a player bleeds, certain precautions are made.
Well, you're seeing this come into college basketball, and you probably will see it in a lot of other sports in the future. I think they're doing it maybe in the NBA.
Right.
But if a player is cut, then he has to be removed from the ball game. The bleeding has to be stopped by the trainer or the doctor, and then he can return to the contest. Now, if there's any blood on his uniform, then he has to change the uniform. So you're going to see players this year maybe start out with number 12, and then he gets some blood on his shirt. He may end up playing with 44 or some other number. This is probably one of the biggest changes we have this year. Now, when the rule first came out, they said you had to remove the player. He had to stay out at least 1 dead ball. Now you can buy a timeout. Let's say in the last minute of play, your star player gets cut. You take him out, you can buy a timeout, and during that 60-second timeout, the trainer can patch him up. He can go right back in the ball game. The way it was first written, if he gets injured and he comes out, then he might not ever get back in the ball game, and if it's a close game, that might be the difference.
Lots more to come on the Eddie Sutton Show. Stay with us. See you in a minute. Cowboys play well at home in Gallagher-Iba Arena. They have won 33 of 34 overall, 40 straight against non-conference competition, and of course 3-0 this season. You might say, so far, so good. Great shot there at the end. And Coach, you mentioned Bryant Reeves. He's averaging 22 points per game, almost 10 rebounds per game. And as Eddie mentioned, the Sports Illustrated Basketball Player of the Week last week in Division I ball. A bigger, stronger, better player.
Much better basketball player. It's amazing how far the young man has come from a year ago. I don't think anyone could realize that a little over a year, here's a guy who is Player of the Year for Sports Illustrated, and he just continues to improve, and certainly will have to carry a heavy load for us this year if we are going to have a good basketball team. The one thing I've mentioned to Bryant yesterday. I said, Bryant, you mustn't forget now who got you the basketball, because guys like Rutherford, who had 4 assists, and Brooks had 7, and Scott Sutton had 6. They got the ball to him in good scoring positions. Offensively, he's playing very well. The area that he must improve defensively. He has a tendency to get back defensively, and a lot of young players do this, and instead of thinking 1 pass ahead or 2 passes ahead and moving his feet and getting himself in position to deny the basketball out of the pivot area, he too often allows a man to flash and then plays him and ends up on his back. And the one area defensively he has improved, he's not fouling so carelessly as he once did last year. So that's a plus. But I like Country. I think he's got a chance to be an outstanding basketball player. His teammates like him. And like I said, we're very proud, and he shares that with all of his teammates, being Sports Illustrated Player of the Week.
He's a lot to like. We'll take a break. When we come back, we look to the future of Oklahoma State basketball. Stay with us. We'll take a 2-week break for the show because of the holidays. And, Coach, let's take a look at the schedule of the games that will be played before we meet again. Hosting Houston Baptist on Saturday at TCU, and then hosting Southwest Missouri State.
Well, Houston Baptist Saturday night, I might add that 2 o'clock that afternoon, our wrestling team is hosting Clemson, and also we're having a big O Club, Letterman's Club, get-together in between games. Southwest Missouri State won a big game over Oregon State this past week. They're undefeated. That will be an outstanding ball game, and of course we'll let our players off after the TCU game, bring them back the 26th of December, and in preparation for Southwest Missouri. And then right after that, we play SMU in Tulsa. There's still some tickets left. I would encourage all of the people over in the Tulsa area or anywhere in Oklahoma to get out and come over and see the Mustangs play. They're a good basketball team. Then we go on to Jacksonville, and then we'll have the next show before the Kansas State game, and then we open Big 8 play with the Wildcats here on January the 9th.
The message has been clear. Be patient out there. Eddie Sutton and crew are doing well. They will do even better. You have a good club, but it'll take a while to gel. Is that accurate?
You have described our basketball team quite well, Dean. We are going to have to be patient. I say we, the coaching staff, and the fans. Anyone that has seen us play certainly would agree we are getting better. But we've got to get a lot better before Big 8 play, because the Big 8 looks like it's going to be every bit as tough as it has been the last 2 seasons.
What about the league? Kansas has a couple of significant injuries, but if any team could afford injuries, it would be Kansas. They still are clearly the top team.
I think Kansas is the best basketball team in our conference, but that doesn't mean they're going to go undefeated. I think there are too many other good ball clubs. There's only been 2 teams that have been beaten at this point in the Big 8. Iowa State's lost twice to 2 very good ball clubs, Florida State and Iowa, and we lost to the California Bears. Oklahoma's playing very well. They'll get a true test in the Maui Classic if they have to play Duke. They may get to the finals, but if they play Duke, we'll find out how good the Sooners are. Missouri's playing well. You saw Nebraska play. They're a very good basketball team. Iowa State's struggling a little bit. But just going to be a great Big 8 race.
All right, Coach, good to see you. You have a good Christmas, and we'll see you after the 1st.
You too, and I'll take this opportunity to wish all of our fans a happy holiday season.
All right, for Eddie Sutton, I'm Dean Blevins. Thanks for watching. We'll see you. Check your local listings for the next time you can see the Eddie Sutton Show.